for just regular user interface, for 2D user interface, you can use these control nodes, these green nodes. So if you want to make a UI scene, you just click the green thing, and we have this basic sort of control setup. And control nodes are nice because you can sort of pick all these different sort of like different layout options, for instance. So and different sort of objects. So for instance, if you want to have a button, you can just do button. So here's a nice button. It's very small right now, but you can either sort of change it manually, or you can say I want it to take up the whole screen, right? And this button is now taking up the whole screen, and you can say like text for button, right? Or if you want to have like an option button, here's like some options. So you can say like, you know, this is like a drop-down menu, right? And you can sort of say, you make items by adding them over here. So you can say like choice 1. And then choice 2, right? And then now I'll call this UI demo patterns. I guess what I'm going to do, folks, is as I'm sort of doing this, right, it seems weird for me to put all these examples that I'm making for you inside my little pattern name folder. That doesn't seem like the easiest place to find it. So I'm going to make a new folder in the root of this repository just called resources, or like examples. I'll call it examples. And then that way, any examples that I'm making for you guys for your patterns, you can just find in that folder. So I'm just going to save it like here in the main folder. I'll make a new folder called examples. Okay? And I'll save this here. I'll call this UI demo. Okay, so now, right, when we run this little scene, we have this UI scene. And this is like, oh, because of the freaking plugin. Give me a moment. How do I stop that? How do I stop this? Project settings. Auto load, XR simulator. Yeah, don't worry about this. Okay, let me try it again. Okay, so so we just have this. Why is the button going away? We have this button that we can press. What is happening? Project settings, disabled that. Let's see, save, let's try quitting and restarting. Ignore, it's fine. See if this works. And if this doesn't work, I'll just show you in a different project. It might be because we're trying to do it in VR. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to make a new Godot project. No, I don't. I'm going to put this in the syllabus if you want to try and access it. Okay. Yeah, I'll put it in the resources folder, UI demo, create folder. Okay, here we go. Okay, so just with a basic scene, with a basic blank project, right? If you want to make UI scenes, you go to user interface, and then you have all these different UI options. So you have like buttons, right? You have check buttons, you have like sliders. You can have like text fields where you can type things in, right? And you can sort of arrange them by hand, but it's sort of annoying to do that, right? And it kind of like gets a little weird. They all kind of like overlap each other. So do you know about like vertical boxes and horizontal boxes and stuff in user interface?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you also have that here as well. So what you can do is you can create like a, you can create containers. So you can say like horizontal, oh, no wait, HBox container. And then any nodes that are a child of this node will be inside the HBox. So now you can kind of see that they've all been squished together. That's because the HBox itself is pretty small, but if you make the HBox bigger, and then you make the, you want to set these align with expand, so you click align with expand, and then this is saying it either wants to take up the left-hand side of the screen, the right-hand side of the screen, the middle, or stretch it out. So you can make them all sort of stretch out by kind of going here and doing align with expand, and align with expand. And so now we have this nice little like HBox, and it has these different elements in it. Does this make sense a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a nice way to sort of do a UI scene, right? And then when we run it, now we have our mouse. We have a button that we can press, we have a slider we can slide, and we have text that we can type. And what's really nice about this is we also have, you can customize the look of them by just doing it manually by going down to theme overrides, and each one of them has all these different like UI themes that you can sort of give it, right? So like, but we can also create like a theme itself for our user interface. So we can go to, I think the easiest way to do that is to open up theme, and then we can go and create a new theme. And then now if we click on this, we'll see we have this theme editor, right? And this theme editor lets us sort of change the theme of any of our user interface items. So if we want to change the way our buttons look, all of our buttons. And is this too much? Is this too?
It is.
It's okay, it's not too complicated? Okay, because there's also maybe easier ways to do it too, but this is a nice, if you really want to get in deep on how to make user interface, this is a great thing to start learning. You can go and say like, so this, we're going to pick the type of node that we want to sort of add a theme style to. So I'm going to say button and hit add type. And then now I can change, I can sort of override any of the defaults. So I can change the color of the font, for instance. So I'll make the font like blue. And so now I think when we run the scene, oh, we don't have any text in the button. Sorry, let's put some text in the button. Hello, yeah, see, right, we have this now. We have this blue font. And what's nice about having made it in a theme is like anytime we make a button, it'll apply it to the button as well. So if we made another button, and I'll show you how to use like a different box, right? We'll do a VBox. And so I'm gonna make this VBox I'm gonna make this VBox actually at the root. I'm gonna make it take up the whole screen. Then I'm gonna put the HBox inside of it. So I have this HBox inside of the VBox, and then below it, I'm gonna add another button. Right, and you'll see now that this button, right, it takes up the whole width because this is a vertical box, right? But if I were to like squeeze it like that or whatever, we can do that. And if I had new text, oh, wait, what? Oh yeah, because currently this button doesn't have the theme applied to it, right? So all you need to do is, well, first we need to save that theme wherever it went. So here's our theme. You hit save, maybe save as, and this is like, maybe like blue buttons, save. Right, so here's our blue buttons theme over here. And so now with our user interface stuff, we can say like, with the button theme, we can say theme quick load blue buttons. And now our button has this applied to it. Does this make sense? Yeah. So this is all well and good, but the real question that you're asking is like, how does this work in VR? And how can you customize it? Which is a really good question. It's a really interesting question. For starters, I think that you can kind of just take this stuff into VR, I hope. So what I'm going to try and do is bring this back into our other project, and we'll see how that works. So I'm going to take, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit this file. I'm going to go back to let's see, we're here over here, and we're also over here, desktop, XR, design media, resources, UI demo. I'm going to take this scene and the theme that I made. I'm going to copy them and paste them into the examples folder. Then I'm going to open the project. And let's try and open the scene and see if it worked okay. There's our theme, here's our scene, here's our blue stuff. Now what I think we can do is in an XR scene, there's a couple different ways you can like load it in. You could do, well, I'll make a new scene now. I'll make an XR scene. So I'm going to do the XR basics with hands. And now I'll call this XR UI. Save it. When we run this scene, that's okay. We don't see anything because we don't have any environment, so I'm just going to add a sun and an environment. Try it again. So we sort of have this XR thing, right? We have this little XR scene. Now, let's see what happens when we just try and bring in our control scene, and we'll make it a child of our XR scene. So there it is, right? It's just kind of, it's just attached to the view. And so that's kind of nice because it's like, it's there, but the problem is you're not going to be able to interact with it with any XR components, right? It's going to be hard to actually interact with. So what I'll point you to, this is kind of confusing though. Let's see if we can think of an easy way to do this. I think if you took you kind of want a plane in 3D space, so we can use how did you make a mesh? You had a nice rectangle floating in space, right?
Yeah. It was just the
Oh, well, you did too, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
That's okay, but if you want to chime in, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was just talking about the 3D mesh.
You just made a mesh, yeah. And is that what you did as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so we can just make a mesh. Mesh instance 3D. We want to give it a texture. And oh well, first we want to give it a mesh, so we'll just make a quad mesh. That's fine. Then we want to have our mesh have a material, which we can do with material. It's just going to be tricky. How do we do it? I'm forgetting. I don't just want to make a material. What I want to do is have like a viewport, I think. Oh no, wait. Okay, yes. I think we do want a standard material. That's okay. And then within our albedo, we want a texture. And the texture can be a viewport texture. And a viewport texture is kind of like taking another scene. It's taking like another it's like a window into another scene and using that as a texture. So I'm gonna use this viewport texture. Can't create a viewport texture on this resource because it's not set. Local scene. How do I do local? Let's see. Maybe we need to make this material local to the scene. So I will make it unique. Let's try it again. This is also like, you know, like the more that I think about it too, like I feel like I'm kind of going about it in a really sort of complicated way. You know what I mean? So I can finish showing you the complicated way, and then I'll show you what might be an easier way too. So we've made this material, right? We made it local to the scene. Then what we need to do is go to its albedo, go back to the texture. Nope. Oops. Go to the viewport texture. No, please switch on local to scene property on it. Okay. I guess there's a local to scene property. You need to read local. Okay, let me zoom out because I think I'm doing this way too. I'll keep investigating and seeing if this is like a good way to do like actual UI, right? I think something that you could also do is you could just sort of make like literal 3D UI. That might be an easier thing to actually interact with and have people like touch and change and stuff. So for instance, you could do like what are some of the UI components that you would be particularly interested in making?
Actually have no idea.
That's okay. But like maybe buttons or I mean, yeah, I would think about what type of components you want to make, right? Like what parts of UI are you interested in sort of in showing?
Like hover the button.
The what?
Hover.
Like a button that you hover over?
Yeah.
Or, and what do you mean by hover?
It's just.
Yeah, I'll pause there for the recording.